If you think you can confiscate a film of Fritz Lang in Berlin, do it. All right, they did it.
In the spring of 1933, filmmaker Fritz Lang was preparing to release his latest project. But this new film would not be allowed to open, at least not in Germany. The new regime had been in power for just 2 months, and it quickly placed a target on this new film from Lang. Because buried inside this crime thriller about a madman in an asylum, the party recognized something familiar. It was something they simply could not allow the German public to see.
Herrschaft des Verbrechens.
This is the story of the film that saw the Third Reich coming, and the director who desperately tried to warn the world. By 1933, Fritz Lang was arguably the most powerful filmmaker in Germany. But before his career in the movies, he trained as an architect in Vienna and served in the Austrian army during the First World War, losing the sight in his right eye to shrapnel. It was in a hospital bed that he first began writing screenplays, coming up with a filmmaking style from scratch.
I had nobody, no model, which I wanted to be like, you know?
Across the 1920s, he built epic films like Metropolis, Destiny, Spies, and The Nibelungen. These were massive projects, often released in 2 parts, that effectively became the architectural vocabulary of the Weimar Republic's deepest anxieties. In 1931, Lang directed his first film with sound. It was simply called M. A child murderer stalks the streets of Berlin, chillingly whistling a tune from Grieg.
I tried to find an actor where nobody would believe that this could be a murderer, and I found Peter Lorre.
When the police fail to catch him, the criminal underworld hunts him down instead, ultimately putting him on trial in a dark cellar.
Wir wollen dich unschädlich machen. Das wollen wir. Und ganz sicher unschädlich bist du nur, wenn du tot bist.
M was a bleak study of a society turning on itself, of institutions crumbling, and of angry crowds deciding who deserves to live. It was Lang's own personal favorite among his films, and it perfectly set the stage for what he would do next.
Menschen, die eine Gefahr für die Organisation bedeuten, sind ausnahmslos sofort zu vernichten.
In 1932, Lang began work on a sequel to his silent-era hit, the crime thriller Dr. Mabuse the Gambler. The new film was titled The Testament of Dr. Mabuse. The criminal mastermind has been locked away for a decade in an asylum, completely catatonic, but he's still able to write. He generates page after page of detailed plans for violence, sabotage, and the construction of what he calls an empire of crime. This was not crime merely for the sake of profit. This was crime as a system, a deliberate campaign of terror designed to completely collapse public confidence in the state until nothing was left but fear. A sprawling criminal gang is assembled to execute the attacks, but crucially, they never actually meet their leader. The gang takes their orders from a silhouette behind a curtain, a hidden figure using the writings of Dr. Mabuse to gain absolute authority that cannot be questioned. Under his command, the gang poisons water supplies, counterfeits currency, and destroys a chemical plant. Lang later stated, plainly and openly, that he had written the film as a direct attack. He called it a deliberate attempt to expose the Nazi plan for domination by putting their own doctrines directly into the mouth of a madman. The methods depicted, the attacks on infrastructure and the counterfeiting, directly mirrored the actual tactics the Nazis were using to undermine the Weimar state.
Hitler has said, we will create our realm of 1,000 years. And I had Mabuse saying exactly the same, only, and when everything is destroyed, I will create my realm of 1,000 years of crime.
Expectations for the film were high, but on the night of February 27, 1933, while Lang's film was still sitting in post-production, the Reichstag burned to the ground. The Nazi Party quickly used the fire as a pretext to suspend civil liberties, arrest their political opponents, and seize sweeping emergency powers. It was a masterclass in opportunistic state terror. Hitler had been officially named Chancellor on January 30, 1933. On March 13th, the Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda was established, with Joseph Goebbels firmly at its head. Goebbels was quick to focus his attention on the work of Fritz Lang. On March 29th, just one single day before its scheduled premiere, The Testament of Dr. Mabuse was formally banned.
The yellow shirts came, they didn't have the black shirts in these days, and said, Mr. Goebbels will confiscate this film.
The official, bureaucratic reason given was that the film endangered public order and security. Goebbels, however, put it much more directly. He wrote that the film dangerously demonstrated that a sufficiently dedicated group of people was perfectly capable of overthrowing any state by violence. He called the film, in effect, a literal instruction manual. But the instruction manual on display in the film was already being used by Hitler and his Nazi party. Just a few days later, Lang was formally summoned to Goebbels' personal office. To his absolute surprise, Goebbels was highly complimentary.
Goebbels could turn on friendliness like a faucet. He came out with stretched hands, said, Mr. Lang, I'm so very, very happy to see you here. Come sit down.
He told Lang that both he and Hitler were great admirers of his work, singling out Metropolis in particular. And then he made Lang an incredible offer. He offered him the leadership of the entire German film industry.
In this moment, to tell you the truth, I was wet all over my body. Perspiration broke out everything. And I was looking at the hands of the clock, and they moved and moved, and my only idea was, how do I get out of here? Get to the bank, get some money out of the bank, and leave Germany.
But Lang had to continue his conversation with Goebbels, nervously mentioning a part of his family heritage.
My mother was born Catholic, but her parents were Jewish. So again he turned on his charm and said, Mr. Lang, we decide who is an Aryan. What should I say? What could I say? I didn't want it to end in a concentration camp.
Lang kept things friendly, graciously telling Goebbels he would consider the offer. But this was just a cover. Lang claimed that after the meeting, he went straight home, ordered his servant to pack a single suitcase, and fled to Paris before Goebbels knew what happened. It's a perfect scene, compact and highly cinematic. It is also, in its details, not quite true. Historians working directly from Lang's own passport have established a very different timeline. He did not leave Germany permanently in March or in April. He left in late July 1933. From April to July, he traveled back and forth between Berlin, Paris, London, and Brussels. And his exit visa was issued entirely through normal official channels on June 23rd. The Midnight Dash was a bit of myth-making from the director, a story Lang told later in life. But even though the truth was a much slower escape from Germany, it was still highly calculated, because it meant Lang spent months living inside the new regime, meticulously deciding exactly how to get out. There was another reason Lang took 4 months to leave. Thea von Harbu, his wife and his co-writer for every single film since 1921, was not leaving Germany. She had become an ardent supporter of the National Socialist movement and would soon officially join the party. Lang couldn't live with that. Their divorce was finalized on April 20th, 1933. Lang arrived safely in the United States in 1934 and signed a contract with MGM. He would go on to make films in Hollywood for the next 3 decades, including films that served as a direct continuation of the fight he had started in 1933.
I did things which I thought were right. Period.
Lang would return to the character of Mabuse one more time in 1960, but the film that mattered was the one Lang made when the regime was still new enough to be afraid of it. Lang saw what was happening in 1930s Germany, doing what he could to expose the plan. Ultimately, he wasn't able to stop what was coming, but he nonetheless left behind a powerful warning.